may I curse? The biggest piece of advice that I would always give to my younger self is don't fucking quit, regardless of how hard it feels, no matter how tired you are, no matter how dark life looks. Because I've gotten to the point where I've almost quit on life a handful of times, but I didn't, because I kept reminding myself that this is just a moment in time. And the only way that I can move forward is if I continue moving. It doesn't matter if you're crawling, if you're walking, or if you're sprinting, you're moving forward. That's all that matters.
If there was one thing the world was asking for, it was for one more podcast about CrossFit. Well, here we are anyways. This is the Silverback Media Podcast, where we share the stories of the everyday CrossFitter, so that more people are encouraged and empowered to try it themselves. Here's your host and everyday CrossFitter, Marco Mejia.
What is happening, Silverback Media crew? Happy Friday. Welcome back. My name is Marco Mejia. I'm a CrossFit Level 2 coach in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm your host here on the Silverback Media Podcast, the show for you, the everyday CrossFitter. If this is your first time tuning into the show, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back. My guest on the show this week is Kaitlyn Kenna Smith. Kaitlyn is a CrossFitter based in Florida. She's also been in the personal training and online coaching space for over 10 years. You can go check her out at Kaitlyn Kenna Fitness on Instagram, where you can find out more about her coaching and what she offers. On there, you'll also see she's a bit of an energy drink influencer. So if you're into that, she's got some great content. And you can also follow along with her journey on becoming a competitive CrossFit athlete. Kaitlyn is also the host of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast, which I highly suggest you go and give her a follow. And in this episode, we talk about what is Kaitlyn's definition of a powerhouse mentality. And then we go back through her backstory and the experiences that led her to that definition, including some tough childhood experiences and even recovering from an eating disorder, which I'm very grateful to Kaitlyn for being open and sharing about her experience through that. We also talk about how she found CrossFit and how that's helped her to continue to develop her powerhouse mentality. Now, before we get to the conversation with Kaitlyn, I've got some exciting news. You have listened to episode 17 with Craig Pearson. Craig has an online shop and a brand that he's working on building. It's called Futureform. The website is futureform.store. Craig and I are going to be working together to develop some Silverback Media merchandise. In the meantime, I highly, highly, highly suggest you go check out his website based off of his story. If you haven't listened to his episode, go back and listen to that after you listen to this one with Kaitlyn, okay? And now with that being said, that's 24 down, 10,000 to go, and let's go talk to Kaitlyn. All right, Kaitlyn Kenna Smith, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's really cool being on the other side of the podcast this time.
And, before we get into the conversation, I figure there's only one proper way to open this. Let me see if I can get the sound. Oh, yeah. That's a
there you go.
crisp
What you
sound
got?
right there. I got Orange Dreamsicle Rain.
Oh, that's a good one. I got some sour pink lemonade ghost.
There
So
we go.
really good.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers from across the country. I did, just before we get into your actual story, I am curious about the whole, energy drink influencer. Is that a way to put it?
I think that's kind of how I would put it. And it's funny because it actually happened unintentionally by accident. Like for a very long time, I've been posting on social media for a very, very long time. And it's always been like, I'm a nutrition and fitness coach. I've been one for 12 years. So it's always been like directed towards sharing my journey through fitness because I've been doing fitness for so long. And then one day I was like, why don't I just post something completely different? And I always loved coffee. So I was like craving something different, went to have an energy drink, and I started like filming videos of coffee snob tries energy drinks. And then all of a sudden I realized it was gaining traction and I was having conversations and making connections with so many people in the industry. And I was like, why don't I just run with this? So I started posting and like really heavily leaning into it. And I've never been happier creating content. It is so fun.
Really?
Yeah. And I have
awesome.
so many energy drinks sent to me. It's actually unbelievable.
Do you got is it different flavors, different companies? I'm sure it's all across
I'll
the
have
board.
people just like slide into my DMs and be like, hey, we want you to try our energy drink. Here's like, send me your address. And okay, sure.
And there's another package at your door. It's like, all right, time to find
Sometimes I don't even know
these,
like
right?
the package is coming. Sometimes there's just packages show up on my door and I'm okay.
You're like, all right,
Cool.
somehow you figured out how to get this to me, but we're gonna breeze past that. Okay, two random questions on that. One, what is the craziest flavor energy drink that you've come across or that's been sent to you that you were just like,
good.
wait, I'm sorry, what?
Craziest flavor is a couple of weeks ago, actually, I had to do a video for C4 and I was assigned this video because I work with a media company called Price Plow. And I was assigned the video and it said serial killer. So I was like, oh, serial killer. It's probably like Cellucor and C4 are the same, so I was figuring it was a protein powder. No, it's an energy drink. So it's a fruity pebble, like Fruit Loop energy drink.
Oh,
And I
cereal.
thought it was
There
going
it
to
is.
be disgusting, but it was
Ah,
really great. And they loved my video so much that they presented it for their marketing team. And
oh,
they sent
nice.
me 2 cases of it.
Oh, there you go. All right. All right. And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Serial killer. When you first said it, I'm like, what kind of flavor is this going to be? And then as you said, I'm like, oh, right,
Yeah.
cereal.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
scared
yeah,
at
that makes
first
sense.
because I thought, oh, we're gonna go like cereal and milk. Is that the vibe I'm getting here? But it was just like a really good like fruity energy drink, you know?
The straight up fruity pebble. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Nice. Okay. And then second question, what's the most amount of caffeine, like the highest caffeine content energy drink that you've been sent? Because I've seen 300 milligram ones, but that's probably
Yeah.
the highest I've come across. I don't
I
know if
haven't
you've
seen
come across
anything
similar.
higher than 300. 300's been
Okay.
like that
Okay.
cap. And for me personally, 300, all the ones that are sent to me that are 300 or that I see go right to my husband, who is like his adrenals are already so messed up from the military. And I'm 200 milligrams and I'm tapped out there. Can't go more.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the 300 ones, I did those for a good stretch of time, and now I feel like I'm kind of weaned off of them somewhat. But I think Rain might be a 300 one.
Rain is
Whatever,
a
I'll check that. But
300. And
it
sometimes
is
you
a
just need
300.
a
Oh
good
boy,
kick in the face.
this is gonna get interesting then, because I don't know the last time I've had a 300, so we might see where this ends up.
You'll
Okay,
start like
uh,
shaking.
yeah, yeah. If I start tweaking a little bit, don't mind me, right? I'll still
Yeah.
ask the questions. Okay, so let's get into your story, and where I want to start with it is, you have the way we kind of cross paths was through your podcast. We had a mutual guest, right? Dave Fennell, who's an incredible story.
Hmm.
And your podcast is called the Powerhouse Mentality podcast, right? And then you've got other coaching components, and I think Facebook groups and online groups and things like that revolving around the same title or same name, so to speak, right?
Hmm.
And in one of your episodes, you said something. I think it was the episode, or it was an episode where you were referring to another episode of yours. Goodness, Inception, right? That you did with Brandon Luckett, which
Hmm.
incredible athlete. And you said, he embodies what a powerhouse mentality is, right?
Hmm.
So if you could just kind of at the start of this, right, and then we're going to use your story to weave back around to this as an endpoint. Um, how would you define a powerhouse mentality? Like, what's your definition of the powerhouse mentality?
I really love that question. And I think one of the biggest things that defines a powerhouse mentality is recognizing that through everything that you go through, that builds you into a stronger human being rather than burns you down, which some people have the
Mm,
perspective that I went through all this stuff and that's why I can't accomplish X, Y, and Z, versus a different perspective of I went through this, that's why I can accomplish X, Y, Z. But it really goes more into the core values. So I have 3 core values for the powerhouse mentality. Actually, yeah, we'll call it 3. So it's keep the commitments that you make to yourself, seek intentional discomfort, and no problems, only solutions. So those are 3 things that are core values of my life that I live every single day in order to build a stronger mentality. So keeping the commitments you make to yourself, regardless of how you feel. So don't let the emotions of I'm tired, I had a long day, this or that, dictate you deciding to keep the commitment of going to the gym, of sending the email, of making the call, of having the difficult conversation. Don't let those emotions stop you from doing those things, because the more that we break the commitments we make to ourselves, the less confident we feel and the lower we feel. But vice versa, the more we keep those commitments, the more momentum we gain, the more traction, the more confidence we build. And then the seek intentional discomfort, it's kind of like life hands us discomfort all of the time, whether we want it or not. Life is going to throw us stuff that we don't want. And the more intentional discomfort that we seek on a daily basis through getting uncomfortable, whether it be in training or just in any area of your life, the more you can handle outside of that area. And then no problems, only solutions. I love this one so much because so many of us focus on there's a problem in front of us and all we see is the problem, as opposed to, well, there's a solution for everything. But a lot of us are so blinded to just reacting that we don't see the solution and we use so much energy and focus on the problem and it makes us negative. So if we shift our focus to, okay, this is happening, but what's the solution? We figure it out much more quickly, and we have a much more positive perspective towards life. So that all in a gist is kind of like the powerhouse mentality.
awesome. That's so cool. And I'm so excited to hear like your backstory and how, because I'm sure you you probably know this, right? All of the experiences that you've been through, right, as we'll talk about, have led to, in some way, shape, or form, those core values, that definition that you've come up with, right? And they inform how you kind of came to the conclusion that those are the things that you want to put that significant meaning on, right? So it's going to be so interesting to hear how those things all came together, and I'm really glad we kind of have that to start as a grounding perspective. I do have a couple questions on this, mostly on the first one. It's more of a curiosity thing around the keeping commitments to yourself. And I'm going to ask this question, and by no means am I necessarily like disagreeing with it, right? I 100% agree with that one, and having that as the first one, because it's kind of like this self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's like the more times you say I'm going to do this thing, and then you do that thing, you're like, oh, I'm the type of person that's capable of doing what I said that I'm going to do, and then that just continues to reinforce itself, right? The piece of it, and this is more, and because I noticed this in myself, is that I will do that and I'll get it, but I'm a very habit and kind of routine based person. And so it takes probably longer than I would like it to for me to get to a point and then realize, like, wait a second, this commitment that I continued to make to myself, like, is it actually continuing to get me closer to where I ultimately want to be? And it takes me sometimes too long to kind of stop myself, look up and be like, wait, I might not be going, it may not that it's like terrible, right? But it's like, it's not necessarily taking me to where I want to go, and I might need to adjust course. How do you balance those two or navigate that?
And that's a really good one. I think that a lot of us, we aren't self-aware enough we don't check in with ourselves enough. So I think it's important to, even on a daily basis, just check in with yourself and make sure that what you're doing on a daily basis, your habits, your routines, are actually driving you to become the person you want to be, and you're on that right path. And there's nothing wrong with having to pivot. There have been so many times where, I'm sure you can relate to this, where you have this one goal and then you get older, you're pursuing it, and you realize maybe this isn't what I want. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not that you said, oh, it's too hard, I'm not doing it, I'm quitting. It's, I'm pivoting because this no longer is who I am.
And not that I'm going to go into too much detail, because I'm the one asking the questions here, not you, and you're on the other side of the interview this time, right? This podcast is essentially that for me, right, in a certain way. And so, yeah, I 100% see that, right, where it's like, okay, the thing that I was shooting for, like, that's not what I thought that was what I wanted, but now I'm realizing, like, and it's because I kept my commitments to myself in the striving for that one thing, and then realizing, wait a second, but I actually don't really want to go that route. But this other one does seem like a new route that I want to explore more, right? So that makes sense.
I do think, like, it's important to be able to pivot, but also, even if you're keeping the commitments you make to yourself and you realize that, like, hey, these commitments, maybe it's not what I want, you still have built the habit of keeping the commitment to yourself. So then just swap in a different habit, because the reality is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I'm cleaning the kitchen and I don't do a great job, I'm probably going to go to work and maybe not do the best job, because that's the habit I'm ingraining within myself, is just like doing everything halfway, versus I'm doing the best regardless of what it is. Like, I have full intent behind what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like that pivot point comes off of still having kept the commitments to yourself, and then realize, like, it's hard to, maybe this isn't the right word, but I'll use it for the sake of time. It's hard to justify pivoting if you haven't kept the commitment to yourself that actually sets you up to achieve that thing in the first place.
True, because then you don't know, like, did you truly give your full potential? Like, maybe this is want, but now you're starting to, like, kind of in the back of your head form a reason as to why you don't want it, because you're just not putting it in,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, great. I love that. All right, cool. Okay, now let's wind your story back then. So let's start way back with a young Kaitlyn. Growing up, athletic wise, did you play sports growing up? Were you in organized activities? Were you just running around causing trouble? What kind of stuff were you getting into growing up?
Man, so I was probably the least athletic kid ever. And it's funny to say that. But I think that really is what drives me more than anything today, because I'm not genetically gifted. I definitely have some genetics, but not like, some of the top athletes. And I was always picked last in gym class. And this is something, like, I will never forget. And I remember just, like, being, like, so butthurt about that. And it's something, like, I'm 30 years old and I still remember it. So clearly it made an impact to the point where I don't want to just do it for myself, but I want to also prove other people, like, yeah, I can do hard things and I can, turn myself into an athlete. As I got older, I started getting into basketball because my dad was into basketball, so it was like kind of just like natural. I started running cross country in high school, so I started to become more athletic, and that's really when I started getting more into fitness was like high school.
Right. And did you at that point getting into fitness at that age, did you see it as kind of a piece of the puzzle, like almost like a necessary evil, so to speak, because you were playing basketball and running cross country? Or did you find yourself starting to enjoy the, workouts and training component that went along with the sport side of it?
Yeah, so originally the first like fitnessy type thing that I ever did was I was like 14 or 15 and we were going through a lot of stuff in the home. Like the
Mm.
home life was not good. And I wanted control. So my best
Mm.
way to gain control was to go on a run. I was like, I'm just going to go on a run away my problems, right? And
Yeah.
I fell in love with running. And that's really where it all began. Is like I fell in love with the feeling of running. I fell in love with that like euphoric, like I did that type thing.
Yeah.
And originally, yeah, maybe it wasn't for the right reasons because it was kind of just like running away from my problems, but it turned into a passion that then I realized this is what I want to do with my entire life.
Like fitness. Was
Yeah,
it
for like fitness.
was
Like
it running at the time? Okay.
it started with running and then I just started like, oh, what else can I do? Oh, I can go to the gym and I can lift some weights and I can like do these home workout things. And it just started to
Yeah.
like, oh, I can do this stuff with my nutrition. I can like change what I eat. And it just start like I went down the rabbit hole and I like drank the Kool-Aid, we'll say.
Oh, nice. And you did it early too, which is probably, I mean, I don't know how many people like have that kind of experience at that age. Cause you said you were what, high school age, right?
Yeah, I was like
So
14 or
teenage
15 when
years.
I, yeah.
Yeah. So what were those initial workouts, initial kind of nutrition things that you focus on? What did those things look like? Is it just like working
So
out, typical big box gym
no, I
situation?
actually, it's funny. I never went into a big box gym other than like an occasional time with like a friend until I was 18, my first
Okay.
day as a personal trainer at said big box gym. So the first time I
Oh,
ever went
seriously?
and worked out at a big box gym was when I was a personal trainer at the big box gym. And all before that, I did like running workouts. I would go to like, we had an apartment gym at some point, so I would go there occasionally. But a lot of it was home workouts, and I did a lot of beach body programs, was kind of what I was into, which is so funny because now I like look at them and I could spit on them. But, you know, now I have more knowledge. But at the time, it was, oh, this is great. This is pushing me. This is different. And they come with nutrition programs. They have literally no idea what they're talking about, but it was all just like portion control and stuff. So it was just like, oh, I should eat more vegetables, like natural stuff.
That's some of the basics. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones that did the P90X stuff, right? Was
Hmm.
that under their kind of umbrella of
Yeah, it
things?
was
Yeah.
like, so I did P90X, and then it was like Insanity, Insanity
Oh gosh.
Asylum, like all these names, Body Beast, like who comes up with this shit?
It's like all the yeah, just throw in ChatGPT. What would you call a beach
Yeah.
body program, right? That somebody could do at home. Let's like that's probably what it's going to spit out. Maybe not P90X, but I will argue this with anybody that the P90X yoga video is one of the hardest things
I
that I've ever
I
done.
will not argue with you on that. It's literally something I will never forget is you pop it in, it's like 90 minutes long too. So you're just like, this is
Yeah,
a marathon.
yeah. And you're in all these crazy. I'm like, I like if somebody even was like, "Hey, would you want to do that?" No, absolutely not. I want no
I'd
part of
rather
it. I'll
do
go do
90 minutes on the assault bike than that.
oh, and that's saying something. Like I
I
think I've
like the
maybe
assault
done
bike
like
though. That's my baby, the Echo bike.
that's your yeah, okay. Fair enough. Everybody's got their thing that they're just like, you know what, I'm gonna stick with that one. Yeah. For
Mhm.
not many people, it's the assault bike, but I respect it.
I've done so many awful workouts on it that my coach when we first started working together, he started putting like so much Echo bike. I was like, bro, what's going on here? He's like, I want you to literally look at the Echo bike in a workout and say, not a problem. And I now I do that. So I'm blessed
Yeah.
for that.
Did you already enjoy it before before you kind of switched up your workouts to kind of approach it that way?
No, I hated
No.
it.
What was the nastiest bike workout that comes to mind? That one that just makes you like kind of queasy to your stomach. Everybody's
Oh
got one.
man. There was one where it was every minute on the minute. No, I'm sorry, every 3 minutes for 30 minutes. You have to do 18 calories on the Echo bike, but it must be completed within 60 seconds.
Hey, wait a second. Is Brandon Luckett your coach? Are
He
you
is
doing
not,
following the?
but my coach works with Brandon Luckett, so
Okay.
I get some of the nasty ones.
Because that's I'm like that sounds like a very EMOM company type of
Yeah, it's a
workout. I feel like
very
I've seen
Brandon
that
Luckett
exact
workout.
one.
It's cool because that workout, again, I'll never forget it because I'll never forget how terrible I felt at the end of it. But those workouts are funny because you have 10 rounds, right? And you start like round 1, 2, 3, you're like, okay, I got this. And then there's like one round, like round 4, and you're like, oh no, this
Yeah.
is not good. I'm going
Yeah.
to die.
And you're like, but crap. I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, I'm not even halfway yet.
Yeah,
Like this
that's
is
the
gonna
scary
be
part.
terrible.
That happens a lot to me during workouts because I do a lot of like 10 round workouts or 10 sets.
Hmm.
And a lot of the times that happens where it's like round 3 and I'm hurting. So that's when I'm just like one round at a time. We're just doing one round at a time. That's the only
Yeah.
way to look at it. Eventually you'll get to round 10 and you'll be grateful you
That's it.
got there. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get there, but it's like if you look at like, oh my gosh, I have 7 rounds left. It's like that's just gonna be daunting. But it's like
It's
I'll just do this
overwhelming.
next
And
one
that's
that's
where
right
a
in
lot
front
of
of me.
people quit. That's why a lot of people
Yeah.
quit. They look at it, it's on any journey. They look at like all that they have in front of them and they're just like, nah, that's a lot. I'm not doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, our class workout yesterday was a very similar one like that, where it was 5 rounds, 400-meter run, 8 front squats at 185 and 125, and 15 lateral burpees over the bar. Yeah, right, just gross. And it's one of
Gross.
those where I was like starting the third run, and I'm like, this sucks. Like I'm not even halfway yet. This is terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, just do the run. And then when you get back in, you'll worry about the next thing. Like, all right, we got back in. We'll just pick up the bar, do those front squats, and then we'll worry. And it's just like that. And then it's like next thing you know, you're done. Right.
Yep.
But it's like if
Yep.
you look at all the work you have left, it's like, oh crap, this is gonna take forever.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
This is gonna be
that's one of my
terrible.
mental secrets towards my workouts because my training is quite disgusting most of the time. My coach is like, I swear something's wrong with him emotionally, where he's just taking out all his hatred on me. But it makes me better for life, because there
Yeah.
are so many times where in life I'm going through something challenging and I just reflect back to all of the hard stuff that I've been able to push through because pain is only temporary.
Yeah. 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 Do you have like a moment that you can think of? Like let's say life moment where you were just like, man, I'm really grateful for the type of training that I've been doing because I don't know how I would have come out of this otherwise.
Hey, quick interruption from me. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you are, I have a favor to ask of you. The main way that this thing can continue to spread is through word of mouth. So if you're enjoying this episode, send it to someone or share it with someone that may benefit from it or enjoy it as well. Leave a comment, drop a 5-star review, follow the show, share about it on social media. That's the main way that we can help get this message out to others so we can continue to spread this, okay? I'd really appreciate it if you do that. And now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things. Like right now, my husband is deployed, and it's really hard to not have him because he's my best friend. And to have him in a country where I'm just like, I hope everything's okay over there. And every night, it's just like one more night. It's just like the same thing, one more round. We can just keep going one at a time.
Yeah. And we are recording this the day after Veterans Day. I mean, he's in the service now, but hey, happy Veterans Day to
I
to
appreciate
him
that.
and I mean to you too, right? Like, it's a family affair, right? So, okay, cool. No, yeah, and that makes sense, right? It's like it's a long journey, and if you thought about all of the time that's left of that deployment, that's probably daunting and overwhelming. But it's like, okay,
Mhm.
one more day, take that next day in stride, right? So,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. I have a particularly nasty bike workout that I'll tell you about later. Not to,
Oh, yeah.
so that way we don't just have a whole podcast of like just
I'm just
gross
like,
bike workouts.
I
So
can make a whole
somebody will
podcast
enjoy
just
that.
about different echo bike workouts that I've done.
that might be a whole that's a separate episode
You'll
in
see that
itself.
pop up on my podcast feed soon. Echo bike
There
workouts.
you go. 10 nastiest echo bike workouts. Yeah, I'll give you one. That a buddy of mine had put me through. I was like, and I will never ever do again. Okay, so wow, that was a gnarly side quest. Back to your story. So you said that so high school age, you fall in love with running, you fall in love with fitness, right? You really get into it. You step foot inside of a big box gym for your first time as a personal trainer. When did personal training become something that you looked at and you're like, hey, I think I want to get into that. I want to do that. I want to, help people or whatever the reasoning was. At
Yeah,
that point in
I
time.
would say probably within like the first year of me actually starting fitness because I realized how much it did for me. Because like I said, at the time when I started it, when I found it, I was looking for something to be my outlet because my father was addicted to painkillers. So we were going through a lot of stuff at home. The family was falling apart. My parents ended up getting a divorce, and we ended up moving back. We were in North Carolina at the time, but we're from New York. So me, my mom, and my brother moved back to New York. And at the time, I was like, no control. I kind of don't know what's going on. Everything's kind of up in shambles, but I have this one core thing that keeps me going, and that's fitness. It's like that place that I can go when I just need to get away. And I wanted to be able to help other people see that. But I also wanted to help other people realize that no matter where you're at in life, you can always pick yourself up and continue to go. Like if you think, oh, I'm too far gone, I'm not healthy, I'm 40 years old, I've never been healthy, that doesn't mean that you can't be healthy now. Like you can literally flip the switch. And I wanted to show people that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, realize that at an early age. I mean, I think probably having the experience you had with it at that age probably helped you learn that faster. And then being able to then take that into, essentially a work setting, right? And be like, okay, I'm going to go and try to help people. How did that initially go? Like, do you feel like it started to resonate, like the way you were approaching personal training? Was it resonating with the people you were working with in terms of trying to pass that message along? How did those initial experiences go when you started training?
Yeah. So when I was 18, like I said, you can get your personal training certification at 18. So as soon as I could, I got it. And then I got my first job at a gym in Brooklyn called Blink Fitness. And at the time, I was also starting to really struggle with my eating disorder, which came again from like the control stuff. And that's like really where like everything got really bad. And so I was so anxious, so depressed, so within myself that it was really hard for me to actually like go on the floor and talk to people and have these conversations and be able to help people because I was so nervous and anxious. And people kept calling me like the skinny white girl, which that's actually really terrible that they did that, but it is what it is. And I worked there for like a year and a half and I started to grow more and more. It's like I started to get outside of my comfort zone. I had a couple of the older trainers see my passion and be like, you know what, I'm going to help you. And I have so many people who really helped get me outside of my shell at that gym. And then I moved to a different gym. It ended up being, I don't want to work here. I worked there for like a month. I worked at New York Sports Club on Wall Street. And it was the worst experience of my life. The worst. The GM was a mean person, period. And it was just, I would go there and I would cry in the bathroom most days because I was so nervous to just like go around and like ask people like, hey, do you need help? This random little anorexic girl at the time.
Yeah.
And I worked there for a month and then I realized, you know what, I need to focus on my health and then I can come back to personal training. So I took a year off from personal training to focus on me because if I'm not a reflection of what I'm preaching, then it's not going to help anybody.
Yeah. So what did that look like then when you kind of refocused on yourself and, I'm assuming, and you mentioned it, right, kind of unwinding, I don't want, or recovering. I don't know the right way to put it or the right word to use, but from the, you mentioned the eating disorder. What did those steps look like? Like, how did that look like? What did that look like for you to kind of work back and refocus on your own health coming out of that?
Yeah. So to this day, it's probably the hardest experience of my entire life. I'm 5'6" and I ended up getting down to 89 pounds. And it kind of happened very unintentionally. Like at first I started seeing the scale go down and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like I like being able to control this and all I have to do is just eat less and, work out more. Right. And then I just stopped weighing myself. I didn't worry about the scale. I was just like, I'm just going to do my thing. And it got to the point where, and I look back and I can literally go to my fitness pal and pull up my actual nutrition data and look and see I was having like 600 calories a day. And I was training, I was working out like 3-4 hours a day. There were some days where I would miss class in college because I wasn't done with my workout yet. Like it was that I was just so like blind to everything going around me. And it's really sometimes difficult to even remember those times. And I think it's because my brain was just surviving, like it wasn't trying to do anything extra. But people around me, like my mom kept saying like, something's really wrong. You're really sick. We need to get help. And I didn't believe her because she's my mom. I'm just thinking she's overreacting because nobody else was saying anything to me. Yeah. But then my mom and my dad, they came together and they took me to what I thought was just a doctor's appointment, but it ended up being an eating disorder outpatient program. And that's when I stepped on the scale and it was 89 pounds. And I was like, oh shit, Like
Ooh.
that was like you hit rock bottom and you kind of get that punch in the gut. That's like, oh, I messed up. Like I didn't mean for it to go as far as it did. And it just kind of, you
Yeah.
lose control. And
Yeah.
then from that point on, it was one day at a time, literally. Like I remember a lot of nights sitting there. My mom was like sitting at the dinner table with me, and I was like
Mm.
crying because I didn't want to eat anymore. But I had to. Like she wasn't letting me not eat more. And then it's funny
Yeah.
because after the fact, my entire family was like, "Yeah, we knew you had a problem. We just didn't know what to say." I'm like, if you said something, maybe I would have thought something was wrong, you know? Because all I
Which,
had was just my mom in my ear, just like, "Hey, something's wrong, Mom. It's fine. I'm fine."
which is like, it's probably interesting looking back on that now, where it's like your mom was saying something and you were like, oh, it's mom
Yep.
overreacting, right? And it's like nobody else is saying anything, but it's probably because, like, I don't know, my own assumption on it is like other people either are just like, well, maybe like I don't know her that well, so who am I to say anything, right?
Yeah,
Like
I
who
think a
knows
lot of
what
people
reason.
just don't know what to say because
Yeah,
because I've
that's a
been in
fair
that
point too.
position, I know how people respond because when you
Mhm.
have an eating disorder, you're very just like focused on it's a very selfish thing, but you're
Mm.
very focused on like what you're doing and you think that what you're doing is correct. And
Mhm.
so if somebody comes at you and you're like, "Hey, you need to eat more," you're just like, "No." Like you're going to take it offensively, you know?
Yeah.
You're very high strung. Think of
Yeah.
when you're really hungry and think of that feeling like all the time. You're just not a fun person to be around, you know?
It's like a consistent hangry almost.
Yeah, literally. It's like, wow, I
What would
actually feel emotionally stable now. Interesting.
so thinking back on that, and I mean you kind of mentioned something in there around this. If or what would have been something that somebody could have said to you in that time that you think, like looking back on it now, that you think would have or could have, gotten you to realize what was going on and being like, "Ooh, man, this person has a point. Maybe I do need to do something about this." Like, what would you say? Almost like what would you say to yourself if you were able to talk to yourself in that window of time?
Hmm. If I'm being completely honest, knowing the mindset that I was in, I think that I nobody could have said anything to me that would have made me change because I
Really?
was
Okay.
so focused on what I was doing. And I
Yeah.
really, truly didn't believe that it was a problem. But I did get to a point, because I can recall it, where one night, like I'd be sitting in bed and my chest would hurt so bad. And I'm just like, am I going to die tonight? Because honestly, I'm okay if I die tonight. Because I was
Whoa.
just so miserable in the life that I was living that
Mhm.
I was just so exhausted and just I don't want to continue on, but I'm like that person who sometimes I'm too stupid to quit. Right. And that's one of those situations where it's like I continued to keep the commitments that I made to myself, but maybe I should have pivoted, you know?
Right. I'm like, there's a little tie back to that
Yeah.
conversation
But
at the start.
I'm very, very, and this is why I'm very good at CrossFit, is I'm very good at suffering.
Mhm.
So if somebody says to me, like right now I'm in the phase where um I truly believe that if you have an eating disorder, you never truly recover emotionally. Like I still have these thoughts in my head where like we're trying to increase carbs because I'm trying to reduce stress. I'm training a lot, so we need to fuel. And some days it's like, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have more carbs. You're fine.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just you get to this point where I could suffer so much with starving myself, but then on the other end of the spectrum, it's like I would never do that. I would never binge eat. I would never do any of that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's like that voice in your head. It's like it never quite goes away. It's like maybe you
Correct.
just kind of like learn different ways to tell that voice to like go sit in the corner,
And that's
right?
really what it is. It's like I truly believe that voice never goes away, but
Mhm.
you develop better tactics at telling it shut up, basically. Or you just don't take action on it. That's really what it comes down to. Because I'll have times where it's like, I don't know, your workout wasn't that hard today. You don't need that many carbs. And it's like, no, 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 shut up. I'm gonna do it anyway, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's like now that's where that keeping the commitments to yourself comes back into play, where it's like, okay,
Yes.
no, this is the plan, this is the work, and this is what needs to be done. So
Mhm.
I'm going to stick with that regardless of what you've always said. Go back to your little cave over there and stay there for a little
Exactly.
bit longer. Yeah. Nice. No, that's and thank you for sharing all that too. I mean, that's it's a very challenging thing to go through. Obviously,
Mhm. I was
yeah,
actually having a
you went through
conversation.
it, right?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with my mom over the weekend, and like I've mentioned, I've been through a lot, like whether it be from my father with the drug addiction, my family getting a divorce, the poverty that we went through, but also like the eating disorder that I inflicted upon myself. She was just like, I'm sorry that you've been through all of that. And I said to her,
Mhm.
I'm not though, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through all of that. And that might sound, some people might be like, that's dumb
Mhm.
because like hard stuff is hard. Yeah, but it happened. So what am I going to do about it? I can just learn and grow from it. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't have the experience that I had. I probably wouldn't be good at CrossFit because I wouldn't have that ability to suffer. And I probably wouldn't be able to help as many people as I help today through coaching because I don't have the experience.
Wow. Yeah, it's like that. All that stuff like got you. And what? Well, I mean, the raw fact is you can't go back and change it,
Correct.
right? So like, well, then it goes back to what I think it was the third core value, right? No problems, only solutions.
Yep.
It's like, well, what are you going to do with all the information and experience that you've had? Are you going to look at
Hmm.
it as a problem? And and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but almost like use it to be a victim of sorts, so
Yeah.
to speak,
No,
right?
I 100% agree with that. I feel like people nowadays are like almost competing to be who's the biggest victim. And I think that's such a, like, I don't know why people do that. It is so disturbing to me that we're at that point?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you follow Alex Hormozy. He does like
Yeah, of
business.
course.
Okay, so I mean,
I'm
he
looking
put up
at
a
two of
reel a
his
while ago.
books actually sitting right here on
Oh,
my
there you
book.
go. I've got one around here somewhere. I just got his money models book. It's in there somewhere. But he put something up one time that I couldn't help but laugh at because it was so good. It's like, oh, you had the worst childhood. Cool. Here's a trophy. Now what are you gonna do? Right? Like are you gonna just sit in that? Like you win. You had the hardest childhood, and now what? Right?
Yep.
It's like it is true. Like yeah, and some people have it significantly harder than others. Totally agree with that. Right? And you can't change it. And so what are you going to do now? Right?
Yeah. I'm
Why
like
not try
honestly
to
at this
use
point in
that?
my life, at this point in my life, Marco, I'm so grateful that I went through that. And I know that sounds weird, but I really am because it has changed my perspective towards life and it's allowed me to appreciate how short and fragile life is.
How long do you like maybe, after having I don't want to say recovered because like we were just saying, right, you never totally recover from it, but how long did it take you to kind of to have that perspective or mindset towards it of gratitude towards your experience versus I don't know if resentment's the right word, but how long
Yeah.
did it take to get to a point where you're like, man, I'm grateful that that happened because I wouldn't be where I am today, helping who I could today, if not for those things.
Yeah. I would love to say that it was like fast, but it was probably like 10 years, you know?
Oh
Like
wow.
my eating disorder really started like I would say like when I first started getting to fitness, I probably had some tendencies, but it didn't get really bad until I was like 18, 19. And then I
Mhm.
really struggled with it until I was like 23, 24. I had like bouts of like I'm good and then like oh no, I'm not good because when you go through stressful times in life, these addictions come out and an eating
Mhm.
disorder is definitely in a form of addiction. And I would say when I met my husband, that's really when I started to have a better positive perspective towards life because he just started to show me like, hey, life is actually a beautiful thing. It's not like just shitty times.
Yeah, it's like there are shitty pieces as a part of it, but it's like as a
Yeah,
whole,
it's
right?
like it's
Yeah.
like my coach always says no time for a bad day because yeah, there are going to be terrible moments within the day, but that doesn't mean that it has to be a bad day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You just keep those moments to those moments, right? And be like, that was a bad moment, but the
Yeah.
day as a whole, right? Everything around that could have either been a good day or just neutral, right? But I'm not going
Yeah.
to allow this one couple moments to reshape my perspective on the whole time. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So when in that stretch of time, or maybe it happened after, when did CrossFit become something that you became aware of, first heard about, first got interested in?
Yeah. So that's crazy actually. It's a crazy story. So when I got into fitness when I was like, when I really started to work out at the big box gyms and stuff, my sole focus was I really want to compete in bodybuilding. So I ended up doing two bikini shows. And what I realized after I did my second one was, oh, this is just like another stem of my eating disorder. It's kind of like I'm prepping, so I need to restrict my food. It's fine. And I realized I was doing it for the wrong reasons. So I said, I'm not going to compete, but I really want to focus on being strong and just building muscle and just really focusing on bodybuilding. So that's what I did for a really long time. And in 2019, I was a sales manager at a gym in North Carolina. I went back to North Carolina, by the way, when I was like 24, 23. Yeah. So New York, now we're back in North Carolina. After college, I was like, I hate New York. Let me go back to North Carolina. I really liked it there.
Because you were in like New York City, right? Like you mentioned like you were in, okay.
Yeah, not fun. So I came back to North Carolina and I was working as a sales manager. And one of the guys that I was managing was really into CrossFit. And I'd heard about CrossFit. I'd seen it. And I was the person who would always joke, they can't even do real pull-ups. And now I feel very sad saying that. I was that person though. And we did one of the CrossFit Open workouts from that year. Can't remember which one it was. There was a lot of wall balls. There was a lot of rowing. And I did it.
You say 2019?
Yeah. I think it was, I want to say it's 29.1 maybe 28. I don't know.
19.1 was
19.1, 29.
See, people are gonna, oh my gosh, I'm showing my nerditude here. 19.1 was a 19-minute AMRAP, 19 wall balls, 19 calories on the row. Because that was my first open workout too.
That's funny. Yeah. So I did it.
I vividly remember that one, and I was like, "This is gross." I
remember. It's funny. I finished it, and I was like, "I love this. Like, I want to do more of this." And I got
for sure.
I dabbled in it a little bit. Like, I did all the open workouts that year. I didn't submit them. I kind of just did them more for myself because I couldn't do a snatch. I couldn't do any of these things. Right. My barbell snatch was like a bent over row, high pull type thing, overhead press. And then I kind of went right back into bodybuilding after the open. I was like, I'll see if maybe I like this in the future. I did incorporate like more functional stuff into my training, like more kettlebell stuff, because I thought that, this is making me healthier. This is making me more capable, right? Yeah. And then when all of the gyms got shut down in COVID, at that time I was a general manager of the gym, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't like do my normal workouts because the gym's closed, and the gyms were closed for 6 months. And I had some dumbbells at home. So I was like, how can I make this work? And that was when social media, I really started getting into like Instagram and like following more people and really diving into content. And I saw like a lot of people talking about CrossFit, doing CrossFit at home because that's all you can do. Yeah. So I got obsessed with CrossFit, and that's where it all began.
Nice. Okay, cool. So it was you and a set of dumbbells at home and just getting after it, huh?
Yeah. And then I was like, can I get a rack with my, stimulus check? Yeah, I absolutely can. Can I get a barbell? Yeah. And we had like a garage. So I was like, I'm just like building my own home gym and like going on Facebook Marketplace and getting all these equipment. So I was like, I have a bench now. I have plates. I have a bar. I have a rack. I have dumbbells. Yeah. So I got everything I need to be able to do some good workouts. And for a really long time, I wrote all of my own workouts. I was just, I look back now and I'm like, that's a lot of volume. Just like keep adding random stuff on, And then after a while, I was like, I really want to get better at this. So I reached out to somebody who I knew, his name is Kavin Valance. He was a first form athlete, is a first form athlete. I don't know. And anyway, he ended up being my first coach, and he was my CrossFit coach. So he wrote all of my workouts, and I learned how to snatch. I learned how to clean and jerk. And then I met my husband. We started he loves CrossFit. He loves working out. Obviously he's in the military. And we started, building our garage gym. Like, hey, we have a little bit of extra money. Let's get a rower. Hey, there's a sale at Row. We can get an Echo bike, And we started really building it into this beautiful gym that we have now. Yeah. And after a while, I was working with that coach for almost 3 years. And he was like, I'm not going to be coaching clients anymore. So I'm going to hand you over to Eric, who at the time we were all I was working for my coach now at a coaching company, at an online coaching company called Hidden Summit. And one of the other coaches, Eric, super experienced CrossFitter, nicest human I know probably, and also the scariest human I know all at the same time. But he was like, I'm just going to give you to Eric and go at it. It's like, okay. And now I've been working with Eric for 3.5 years, and about 2.5 years, or like 2 years ago, I made the decision that I want to go all in on this, and it just keeps getting more and more obsessive at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think that's the nature of CrossFit, right?
A little, yeah, it's definitely built in there, right? Where it's like, all right, we're just going to keep, because, and I think that's one of the cool things about it, right? Is that there's always some other component, that you could be working on.
Correct.
Whether
There's
it's,
always something to get better at.
yeah, it's like for a lot of people, it's gymnastic skills, but for some people, it's like just your engine, and maybe it's your engine on certain machines, right? Assault bike versus echo bike versus rower. Some people it's weightlifting, but there's always, and even when you start to get to a point where you're like, man, I really feel like I've got a grasp on that, let's call it, I don't know, ring muscle ups, right? I finally got that. I feel like I have a good solid base of it. I can, string them together. And it's like, cool. Well, how about your like burpee technique, right? Or something like that, right? Like there's always something different which almost continues to reinforce, like,
Yeah.
in a positive way, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it from that perspective, it continues to reinforce like this, never ending ladder of fitness that you can continue to build really over the course of a lifetime, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's so
And
much
that's
fun.
what I
Yeah.
love about CrossFit so much. And when I first originally was introduced to CrossFit, I definitely was like in the wrong mindset about it, where I thought, oh, these people are just doing stupid things. They're going to hurt themselves. And that's what I feel like so many people look at.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is CrossFit is it's strength and conditioning, right? It's strength, conditioning, gymnastics, skill work, and people think that it's just so dumb. But at the same time, anything can be dumb if done inappropriately. So if I do bench press inappropriately, it is now dumb, right? If I do, handstand push-ups the right way, it is not dumb.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I think I tell people this. It's like CrossFit is safe as long as you don't do dumb shit.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's with anything. Weightlifting is very safe unless you do dumb shit. Running is actually the one that most people gravitate towards the most, but it has the highest injury rate because most people just don't know how to run properly,
Yeah, it's like between bad form and just talk about repetitive and cyclical motions, right? It's like you're working the same muscles over and over again. It's like if you tell someone, hey, I want you to go to the gym every day for the next year, but you're only going to exercise your biceps.
Yep. And then you're going to be like, why do my elbows hurt? I don't know.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know. It's because you're only working one side of your arm. And guess what? You got two sides. When did that mindset change for you from, on CrossFit, right? From looking at it and being like, these are just dumb workouts and dumb movements and people are putting them together in a dumb way, to be like, wait a second, this is something that, that I want to pursue further. Like it was there like kind of an, I don't want to call it like an eye-opening moment or something that you're like, oh, I see what's happening here. And this is actually makes more sense, or is just way cooler than I thought it was initially.
Yeah. Well, when everything got shut down for COVID, I'm a big nerd. So I love like researching and I love fitness, nutrition. I love the human body. I love all that stuff. And it's just like, it fascinates me. So when I started to like dabble in CrossFit, I was like, let me look into this and really see like, what are the benefits? What are the best things about it? And I started to just see what CrossFit actually is instead of just forming my own opinion upon it,
Yeah. So it was like, did you come across like, whether it was CrossFit.com, like the different articles they had on there, maybe even,
I came across
their level 1 and level 2
CrossFit.com
guidebooks.
Yeah. I came across a lot of that stuff. I also came across just like CrossFit athletes posting on social media. I watched some of the games documentaries and I started to really understand what CrossFit is. And I loved the community aspect of it. Even though I work out in my gym, I still, I have friends who go to a CrossFit gym where I see my PT and where I do some competitions. And those are some of like, there's nothing that brings people closer together than just suffering together,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that feeling at the end of an extraordinarily hard workout. When you're in a class with people and then you're just like, oh, okay, cool. We're going to high five. Like we all did
this
together.
We survived.
We survived. We made it. And I'll see you all tomorrow for more.
Yeah, right. It's so funny. CrossFit is a funny thing because the amount of times where I'm in the garage suffering, I'm just like, I hate this. Why am I doing this? And then you finish and you're like, I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, you're like, okay, that was great. I'm really happy I did that. So have you been basically training in your garage? Mostly by yourself? I mean, I'm sure, maybe you have people come in and work out with you.
No, always by myself. Always by myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude.
And people think, oh, well, like you can't push yourself. I'm really good at pushing myself. That's like, if I take pride in one thing, like I said, I can suffer and I'm really good at just pushing myself to these limits where I probably should never push myself sometimes.
Do you feel like if you ever have you ever been, I guess, a member at a CrossFit gym?
I've never been a member, but I've done drop-ins multiple times. Yeah.
Do you find a difference when you're working out like in a group, like your ability to push yourself? Do you notice a difference between that versus when you're at home?
I honestly don't.
Really? Okay, good for
Yeah.
you. I love that. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think it's
like that.
because I've done it for so long that I've kind of like this is how I built myself. And again, I'm
That
somebody
makes sense.
who's like I get nervous for workouts less because I know I get nervous sometimes because I know they're gonna hurt, but I also
Yeah.
get nervous because I'm like, well, what if I get to a moment where I want to slow down and I do? That makes me sick
Ooh.
almost when I get to that moment where it's like I'm not giving my all because I'm tired or I'm feeling sorry for myself in this workout. And I've
Yeah.
become so mentally aware of how I feel during workouts that I know if I'm slowing down, if I'm thinking, if I'm having the capacity to have a conversation in my head, I can go faster. I'm
Mm.
okay, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like if you can have the back and forth in your own head about like, why am I slowing down right now? It's like, wait a second, why don't you just put that effort towards getting back in the workout and going a little faster?
Hmm.
Yeah. And it's well, first off, hats off to you because I am not that way. Like if I needed to go hard by myself, I will, but chances are if I'm working out by myself, I'm very much more the group class setting person, right? Where
Yeah.
like if I'm around other people, like I will go faster. Even if I walk into a class thinking like, nah, today I'm just gonna like, whether I had a bad night of
Oh
sleep
yeah.
or whatever, I'm here, I'm gonna kind of just go through the motions. 3, 2, 1, go. It's like, all right, here we go.
Yep.
And then off we go.
Yep. Yeah, well, I mean, my husband is very much so like that. So there have been many times where he's like, "Can we go to like a CrossFit gym this weekend because I really feel like I need to push myself." I'm just like, "Why can't you just do that at home?" And I just like don't understand. What do
Yeah.
you?
So what has that, over the course of what? So now it's been 6-ish years in CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
2019. You said, yeah, 6-ish
Well,
years.
2019, I like dabbled in it for a little bit. I would say I really got serious about it probably 4 years ago. Like where I was
Okay. Okay.
actually doing workouts that were programmed by somebody else and like following a guideline instead of just doing random stuff, you know?
Just writing your own workouts like
Yeah.
based on Instagram research. So over the course of that time, if you think back to like when you talked about first getting into running, like in high school, right, and kind of finding that and being like, oh man, like this is the feeling that I get from this is something that I haven't experienced before, and it's like helping you kind of navigate that time of life. Do you feel like you now get that or continue to get that from CrossFit, and is it different in any way compared
Yeah.
to when you first got into the fitness realm?
I think it's very different, but similar at the same. It's similar in the sense where it gives me something to be prideful about and it gives me something as an outlet to my life. But at the same time, it's also a stressor because this is something that I'm doing like competitively that I'm all in on. But I look at it as a way it it really just adds so much to my life, whether it be through the improvements that I see. Like there's nothing cooler than being able to like this morning I had heavy deadlifts programmed and I was moving this weight that I've never moved at this speed and I was like, "Oh, this feels good." Like I
Yeah.
love to be strong. Like there's nothing that feels better than being able to better yourself and you see that over the course of the weeks and the months and the years that you're doing this to look back and think, oh, well, I'm doing this workout this afternoon. It has, snatches at X amount of weight, and that's fine. That's easy, easy money. But like 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, I can't do that weight. You know, there's just something so beautiful about that.
Yeah. I think just a little side note on that. I think that if, someone's listening to this and is, doing CrossFit and not tracking their workouts, whether it's times, whether it's weights they're using, scales, they're, modifications they're doing, like what you just mentioned is one of the biggest benefits of starting to write down and track your workouts.
So
It's
important.
not at all for like the leaderboard at your gym. I mean, that's cool, but it's so that way 2 years down the road, you can be like, oh, that weight that I was just moving around today, like no problem. Like 2 years ago, that was my one rep max. And now I did it in a WOD for, for 40 something reps. Right.
Because it's so easy to forget that because
Oh yeah.
we get so focused, and I do this all the time. I get so focused on, oh, but I'm not there. Oh, but she's so much stronger. Oh, but I wish I could lift more, that we forget to be like, but do you see how much more you're lifting now? Because
Yeah.
it's the process. It's not, if I were to snap my fingers and give somebody everything that they wanted in life, their goals, like they wanted to lose 20 pounds and I snapped my fingers and they lost it, they'd probably
Yeah.
lose it immediately because they didn't go through the journey and the process to earn it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Right. And it just, what you learn about yourself
Oh
through
yeah.
that process, which you can really only like, it comes it comes back around in hindsight once you actually kind of like get to that mountaintop of whatever it is you're working towards, that you're like, you look back and you're like, holy crap, like not only am I now capable of doing this thing that I didn't think was possible, but look at how much I've changed just personally along the way. Like I think about that when I got my first bar muscle up. I'm like, there were no, sponsors running to give me free stuff because I got one bar muscle up. That wasn't happening anytime soon, and it isn't going to happen anytime soon. But what I learned about myself was that that there's something that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do, but that I was able to put the work in and like actually achieve that. And it's like,
Yeah.
where else can I take that in my life? Right. So
That's what it's all about. It shows you what's possible. Like we all
yeah,
think that we have like this limit and we put like a very low ceiling on what we're capable of, when the reality is like we're truly limitless if we never quit and we go all in on what we truly want,
yeah, yeah. And you have that belief that like, oh, I am capable of it, right? It's
And
going to be
belief
hard. It's going to
is,
suck. It's going to take time,
yeah.
but I can do it.
Yeah, and belief is like one of those things that without it, you're not going to make it. But with like, even a little bit of belief, like it's
You can go so
so
far.
powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you, because, I'm sure there are probably some days, and now, between your CrossFit training, your coaching, you also have a podcast, you're helping, you've got these people you're helping. I'm sure there are some days that still come across where you're like, it just feels like a drag, right? For whatever reason, right? Maybe you like, have that lacking belief on a given day. What, what is that? What is that belief for you that even on those days you come back to and you're like, all right, like today kind of sucks a little bit, but I'm going to go anyways because I got something I'm working towards, or whatever the case is, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
How do you combat those days?
Yeah, I'm so emotionally attached to the goals that I have because I've taken time to like seek purpose in them, that even on those really hard days, like yesterday or Monday, I had a workout. It was every 5 minutes for 40 minutes, 10 thrusters, and they were heavy, and then 10 burpee box jump overs at a high box, and then max calorie C2 bike in the time remaining. So there was no rest, 40 minutes of hell. And I was
Goodness
like
gracious.
walking
Hold
around.
on. Pause. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
For 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the score on it was the bite calories.
Yeah.
Ew. Okay. All right. Got it. Sorry. I just had to take a second to be like,
Of course, I
that's
understand.
particularly nasty. Yeah.
It's funny because
Okay.
the amount of times I'll like say my workouts and I'm just like, it's my workout, and somebody's like, what the fuck? Like, and that was just the afternoon, so you didn't even see what I did in the morning. But anyway, I was like walking around, like had everything set up, ready to go. The timer was ready to click, and I'm just walking around like procrastinating, such like, I don't want to do this, like at all. Nothing in me wanted to do this. And I literally said verbally out loud, I was like, well, the work's not going to do itself. And I just started the timer and started going. Because that's like, if my coach gives me something to do, unless I am literally injured or dead, yeah. I will do it.
Like it's got to get done. Yeah.
I'm not going to leave it unchecked because I was not feeling it,
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And you mentioned something as you're kind of talking. You said that like you have your goals and you're like emotionally attached to them because you've taken the time to seek purpose in them, I think is the way you worded it. When you're working with somebody, how do you help them find that? Because I'm sure, you might have someone that comes to you and, I've done some nutrition coaching in the past year, right? And someone says, okay, I want to lose weight. I was like, okay, well, why?
Yeah.
Right. And there's like a process into kind of unwinding like what that is. Like how do you work with someone to help them get to that point? Because like I'm sure for you, having that attachment to those goals and understanding that deep reasoning behind why you have those goals makes it a lot easier to be in that moment and be like, well, work's not going to do itself. Click the button. Yep. Here we go. Right.
Yeah.
So how do you help others find that?
It really comes down to pushing them emotionally further than they've ever gone in a depth perspective. So when you ask the question like, hey, okay, you want to lose 20 pounds. Why do you want to lose that weight? And they say, oh, well, I just want to look better. Okay, well, why? Like I will be that person who's like, why? Until we get to the point where that person is like almost in tears because they realize, oh my gosh, this is why. This is actually why. Because somebody doesn't, the thought of losing 20 pounds because I want to look better isn't going to get you out of bed when you don't feel like working out at 5 a.m. But I want to lose 20 pounds so that I can be a better parent for my kids because my parents were overweight and they weren't healthy. They died young and I don't want to do that. That's going to get you out of bed. So it's about finding the actual why. And it's not always easy. It's kind of like how Shrek would say, like, you got to like go through all the layers of the onion. And I've been working with people for 3, 4, 5 years who are just getting to the point where they actually understand why they're doing something. So it might take time, but if somebody's willing to do that work emotionally, then they're going to do so much better than somebody who's just checking off the boxes when it's like, oh, you can go to ChatGPT and get a nutrition program and a workout program. But unless you're emotionally ready to actually do the work, you're not going to do it. Like the perfect workout program, the perfect nutrition program doesn't matter unless it's done consistently.
Consistently means like on the days where it feels like your whole life is caving in on you.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not about being perfect, but it's about, progressing through it and understanding that if usually you have 12 cookies when you have a bad day at work, but today you only had 4, I call that a win. Let's keep progressing,
Progress. It's progress, right? Small progress is still progress. That's one of my favorite sayings, right? It's like, there's no need to devalue. Well, I only got, using a gym. It's like, I only got a 5-pound PR. I thought I was going to get 20. It's like, yeah, but damn it, you still did more than you did last time. Like, so what?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And those little bits of progress end up stacking on top of each other. And okay, that kind of takes me to my next question. It's something that you say at the end of each of your episodes. I don't want to get the wording completely wrong. Do something today that takes you one step closer to where you want to be.
That is correct. Yeah. It's funny because I don't even know where that came from. I think I said it during one episode and I was like, I like that. So I just kept saying it because I don't know what to say at the end. So I just say that.
No, and I love it too. Like it's a great sign. It's like, hell yeah. Now I'm ready to go. So for you, when you think about where you want to be, right. And what that looks like for you, what is that? What is that? I don't want to call it end game necessarily. But for yourself, when you think about taking one step closer today to wherever you want to be, what is that picture in your head of where that end is for right now?
Yeah. So right now, when it comes to CrossFit specifically, I want to be a competitive CrossFit athlete. So one day I want to be at the games, whether it's I'm a master's athlete, I'm on a team, I'm an individual, I don't care. Like I want to just be there. And I want to be able to do the competitions like Wadapalooza and all these things, and be able to be competitive to be able to say I am a competitive athlete because I was able to overcome this eating disorder that I had, overcome all the BS that I've been through in order to get to this point, and to show everybody that like, this is what's truly possible when you set your mind to something. And regardless of how many times you want to quit, you don't, because there are so many times where I want to quit, where I'm trying to hit a heavy for the day and the heavy's just not working. And I think about all the other girls who are easily lifting this heavy. But then I remember like what we were talking about earlier about how much progress I've made and how much more I can make if I continue,
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's awesome. What about from like your coaching perspective?
Yeah. So right now with coaching, I think that I'm in a place with coaching where I've been a coach for so long that I'm almost like, I love what I do and I love being able to help people, but I'm not really seeking more clients. I'm kind of just hanging tight with the people that I have and really giving all of my love and attention to them and really delving more into the content creating side of things because I love doing it. I love educating people. I love entertaining people and looking to kind of build that side of things and the podcast right now.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. And in a weird way, right, that allows you to then reach a wider group of people to help.
Absolutely.
The one-on-one coaching relationship, right, I'm sure is more in depth, right, than what you may be able to do from a content perspective, but you cast a wider net and can share your story, which is going to, can have an impact on so
Absolutely. And then it creates conversations, like the amount of times where I get a DM from somebody and be like, hey, thank you for sharing, I'll share real words like I had a hard day and I'm having a hard time, but I'm still here. Somebody be like, thank you for sharing that because I'm having a hard day and I wanted to quit, but then I saw that you were doing it too. So it's just like, hey, we're all in this together type thing,
And that probably gives you a little boost to be like, all right, then tomorrow's another day. Like we're going to keep going because, not because people are watching necessarily. Right.
But some days it kind of gets to that point where, you have a hard day, you slept like shit. You don't want to get up. You know that you look at the workout and you're like, absolutely not. But again, the work's not going to do itself. So sometimes it's like, it's not because somebody's watching, but it's It's the fact that if I do this and I post about it, somebody might see it and be like, oh, well, she was having a hard day. I'm going to do it too. I wasn't going to work out, but now I'm going to work out. And then that little bit of momentum, it's like the small little things that you think have no impact on somebody else's life could change their life.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Right. And for all the number of people that do say something, that do send you that DM, is like how many others are having that same impact that maybe aren't saying anything for whatever reason. It doesn't, that part doesn't matter. But if like one person says something to you, there's probably at least 10 or 15 that had that same impact. Right.
Yeah.
So it's just
and
like,
that's how I also look at like my podcast too, because when I first started my podcast, like I knew that probably nobody was listening, you know, but I was like, hey, if one person can listen to this and get one thing, great. That's all that that's all that matters.
It makes it so worth it. Right.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah,
it's worth all the effort of the recording and dealing with whatever freaking non-technical skill level of software.
Always. I know nothing of technology. Like people assume because I'm on social media and I do like podcasting content, they ask me like, hey, how do you do this with a podcast? I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just do it, mess up, and then figure it out along the way.
I'm like, let me go ask my assistant, which is just ChatGPT. Which I'm like,
I'll ask
how do you do this?
I'll go ask YouTube. I have all of my employees here.
So and we talked about the podcast right at the start, right? So it's the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. So how long has that been going now?
I started that in 2022.
Okay, gotcha. What was the reason that you had, like when you first thought of it or first thought to start it? What was like the reason that you were like, all right, let's press record, let's get this thing rolling?
So for a really long time, I was like obsessed with podcasts. I loved like Ed Milet, Andy Frisella, and I loved like the personal development. I was like, I have some good shit to share. Why don't I start a podcast? So never ever should anybody go back and listen to episode 1 because I'm sure it's like, oh God. But it was one of those things too where for a really long time, like I had the mic, I was ready, I had Audacity. I was like, I just need to record it. I have an idea. And I think it was like 6 months of like, I have it, it's ready, that like every day I'd be like, tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. And there was just one day where it's like, today we're doing it today, like now. And that's literally how it started. And I came up with a name because I was trying to figure out a name. And he was my boyfriend at the time, and now he's my husband. We went on a walk. I remember we were just walking, going back and forth. I was like, I have no idea what to call this podcast, but I want it to be like something with mindset. And he was like, what about the Powerhouse Mentality? I was like, I like that. And that's literally how it happened.
I know, isn't it funny? Like sometimes you're waiting for like the perfect name or like thinking of the perfect thing. And then someone says something, you're like, I like that. I'm just going to take it and do it. That way I don't like.
That's how it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what have you learned about, through the experience of doing the podcast and putting out, episodes for 3+ years? What have you learned about yourself, about, from the different interviews? Because I know you kind of have a combination of like solo episodes and interviewing other people. What are some of the big takeaways for you that you've gathered over the course of all those episodes?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I love the most is interviewing people and having different people on, and selfishly for myself, like listening to their story, asking them questions, because it shows me that even normal people, like, you know what I mean? Like people who aren't celebrities, people who aren't like big athletes, they're doing cool shit. They're doing things that are hard, that they're showing up when they don't want to show up. And it shows me like, oh, if this person who's, a dad and doing all these things, they can still show up, then I can still show up, and all of my listeners can still show up. And I think like on the solo episodes, a lot of it's like my experience teaching other people, but also sometimes it's just like, I want to talk and I don't have anyone to talk to, so I'll talk to the mic and hopefully somebody resonates with it,
You're like, hopefully somebody's listening out there, which I'm sure, obviously you've got listeners, but it's like, all right, let's share this thing. Let's distill down some of these lessons, right? Like that's so cool. Yeah. That what you mentioned of like hearing the experiences of others and hearing like, and that's one of the big things that I've gotten. It's like everybody's going through some shit. Right. Everybody's got stuff they're going through to different extents, different levels. We're not playing a comparison game, but everybody's got something.
It's like, it's kind of like I was having a conversation yesterday on a podcast actually about mental health. And one thing we were saying is your hard days are relative, right? What's hard for you might not be hard for me, but vice versa. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It's hard. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, and then you hear the people that are going through their version of their hard days, and they're showing up either way, and they're putting
Yep.
in the work, and it looks different, right? Some days it's like, man, I'm really going through it, but I'm going to show up anyways, and I'm just going to kind
You
of go through
always
the
feel better
motions, but
when
I'm
you
still
show up.
checking
You
the
really
box.
do. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, if I'm having a really tough time, like emotionally, like I said, my husband's deployed, so most mornings I wake up, I'm like, I don't want to do anything. And like I get to the end of my day and I did all my stuff and I feel like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. Like I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, exactly. You get to the and you crossed off whatever on your list. You move things forward, and you're like, okay, whew, I really didn't want to do any of that,
Yeah. And then you're
but I
always
did
happy you
it,
did.
and I'm
Like
so happy I did.
so happy. Like the workout that I didn't want to do on Monday, finished it, and I felt really damn proud of myself.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. I've got one more question for you. And but before I do, I mean, thank you for sharing all of your story, your background here. And I know we kind of mentioned it a little bit before we hit record, right? There are going to be people that are going to hear your story, and whether they're going through the exact same thing or not, or have gone through, the exact same thing or not, maybe not, but they're going to hear pieces of your story and think like, oh crap, kind of like what we were just saying, like look at what she went through, and she's still able to do this.
Mhm.
So with what I've been through, I can take some steps forward too, right?
Yep.
So
No matter how
I
small
hope
that step is, too. Like
it's a step.
I always say to somebody, if you want to lose weight, doesn't mean you have to go to the gym 6 days a week. Hey, you're doing nothing now. Why don't you just go for a 5-minute walk? Like, let's just do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And so first, thank you for sharing all that, right? Because it will help people. And so now, I kind of think of like I'm going to put you in a time machine, and you get to go back and talk to a younger version of yourself. And I know we kind of did a version of this earlier, but I'm going to let you kind of think about, right, whether it's the version of you in high school, going through college, those initial kind of years training as a personal trainer, going through the eating disorder, your choice, your kind of pick, right? And you get a few minutes to talk to that younger version of yourself, let's say about CrossFit and what you've learned from it and what you've experienced from it and how you've grown from it. And you got that younger version of yourself that's like, wait, you mean all those dumb people doing those weird exercises? Yes, all those dumb people doing the weird exercises, right? But you get a few minutes to give the younger version of yourself some advice about whether to try it or not. What would be the advice that you give to a younger Kaitlyn?
I think there's a couple pieces here. So the first thing would be don't knock something until you try it, right? Because the amount of times where I've spoken about something like even as simple as like an energy drink flavor, where it's like that's gonna be terrible, and then you try and it's like, oh, this is my new favorite energy drink, right? You would not have known unless you tried it. But I think the biggest piece of advice, and I think about this a lot actually, that I would always give to my younger self is, may I curse?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we already have.
Yeah, you're right. Is don't fucking quit. Like, seriously, never quit, regardless of how hard it feels, no matter how tired you are, no matter how dark life looks. Because I've gotten to the point where I've almost quit on life a handful of times, but I didn't because I kept reminding myself that this is just a moment in time. Like, this is just a snapshot. Like, we can keep moving forward from this. And the only way that I can move forward is if I continue moving. So it doesn't matter if you're crawling, if you're walking, or if you're sprinting, you're moving forward. That's all that matters.
That's a beautiful bow on this conversation. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you're like, I thought we were going to talk about that? Like anything that comes to mind just over the course of your story?
No. I mean, I think we hit everything
We hit.
real well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, where can people find you? I know you've got Facebook groups, you've got the podcast, you're on Instagram. Give the rundown. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you or follow along with your story?
Yeah, I'm my biggest platform is Instagram. It's at Kaitlyn Kenna Fitness. I am recently on TikTok as well at that same handle at Kaitlyn Kenna Fitness. There's also the Powerhouse Mentality Facebook group. There's the Powerhouse Journal Facebook group, which is all supplement, energy drink breakdowns and reviews. And then the Powerhouse Journal on Instagram as well. So that's my places.
Heck yeah. And then the podcast. Did you mention the podcast?
Yeah, the Powerhouse Mentality. I should probably mention that, huh?
I
You
know
can
we
find
mentioned
that
it a
on
couple
Apple and
times over the course of
Spotify.
it, but yeah, it's like, why not while we're here wrapping it up?
Yeah, might as well, right? The foundation of everything.
I'll collect my marketing fee later. Okay. No, thank you again. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Of course.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with a friend. To get notified of future episodes, please follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you can continue to hear these stories. For more behind-the-scenes content of everyday CrossFitters, follow on YouTube and Instagram at Silverback Media. Until next time, this has been the Silverback Media Podcast.